Hi once again, everyone, and welcome to another University of Houston Alumni Association video interview. I'm Tom Franklin, and my guest today is Leroy Hermes. He's one of our distinguished alums for 2011. He's done so much for this university, I won't even start to list the accomplishments that he's had. Leroy, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. I'm delighted to be here.
All right, tell me where Leroy Hermes started. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a farm and ranching community about 100 miles west of Houston. Lavaca County. I went to a rural school, grades 1 through 8, and then I went to the city of Yoakum, Texas to go to high school.
The big town.
Big town. A 2A high school. And so that's after I've completed there. I went off to another university, and I eventually ended up here.
What brought you to the University of Houston?
Well, I was going to the University of Texas and studying architecture. I was working for the state. I was actually an elevator operator and a night watchman and those kind of things in the state capitol. And I went to school straight through. One summer, middle of my junior year, at the end of my sophomore year, I left the university to go home for the summer to work doing something else. And when I got back, the captain of the Capitol Guard was my boss, and he retired that summer. When I got back, I didn't have a job, so I had to leave at the end of that next semester, and came to Houston and got a job and started going to the University of Houston, which was absolutely the best thing that ever happened to me.
And if I remember right in reading, it took you, 9 years to get your degree?
Right. The first 2.5 went pretty fast. Mm-hmm. But one of the reasons, and most people wouldn't believe this, but the University of Houston would not accept any of my architecture courses from the University of Texas. So,
well,
they accepted my academic courses, but the College of Architecture at the University of Houston was different and, in my opinion, far, far superior. So I started over with my design courses as a freshman at the University of Houston. And then I was working and going to school, and so it took me another several years before I could graduate. And some of the courses actually that I took at the end of my college career were freshman design courses just to fill my curriculum at the University of Houston.
Where did your love for design come from?
You know, I'm not sure. I was the first person in my family to ever go to college. I love to draw. I took some drawing courses in high school. I managed to visit an architect's office. I just had this dream that I wanted to design buildings. And
one of those kids in school who would doodle by drawing things?
Right.
When you got bored?
Yeah. And my grandfather on my mother's side was a general contractor, and so there was, just I from the time I was probably 12 years old, I decided that's what I wanted to do.
Right. Tell me about those architecture classes that you took here at the University of Houston that you said were so different. How did they impact your life?
Well, they were somewhat unstructured in that at the University of Texas, design was taught like it was like making sausage. Here at the University of Houston, there was a freedom of expression and a faculty that wanted each student to express their freedom of design and to really bring out the best in the student and produce something that was not necessarily what was the current fashion, but what was beyond. And that's, I think, the thing that impressed me about the University of Houston College of Architecture. There was a very entrepreneurial spirit there, something that made you go beyond what was currently being done by the rest of the world.
So there were really no limits on what you could do.
Right. I mean, the creativity was it was a creative atmosphere versus a more of a conservative kind of atmosphere for design, and as a matter of fact, for a whole philosophy of life.
Were there any particular professors who taught you that really made an impact on you?
Yeah, there were. There really were. There was Bill Jenkins, who was ended up actually being the dean of the college at one point, and then a fellow named Lindstetter, who had been a World War II vet. I think he made the Bataan March, as a matter of fact, but he was just a incredibly free thinker. And there were several people like that at the University of Houston at that time. All these guys were Yale and Harvard graduates. They were unique people. They were artisans in their own right. They were just special people that didn't really follow the mold of a conservative way of thinking. And they brought out a lot in a student that a student needs to have the opportunity to express when they're in college. Now, when you get in the business world, that always doesn't work, but it opens up your mind, and they were able to do that.
And it wasn't long thereafter that you started your own business.
I graduated in 1966, and because I'd worked my way working for architects, I was really working as a project leader on schools and things like that by the time I graduated. So I was able to get registered in 2 years. I was the first person in my graduating class to get registration. And then a year later, in 1969, I started my own firm.
And going your own firm, what were some of the notable accomplishments to you? Not necessarily to the community, but what were some of the projects to you that meant the most?
Well, through the years, we designed a lot of schools and religious buildings, and my practice, literally millions and millions of square feet of retail projects all over the United States. Big ones, small ones, all sizes, public buildings.